Hello and welcome to Reality TV News Update, where you'll find the most recent news, entertaining moments, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. A lost vote plays a key role. Well, I'm D-Rock and I'm here to say, I watch Survivor all night and I rap all day. I always come up with wicked rhymes, similar to a powerful unlimited medallion. People are attempting to portray my rapping as weak. They be full of more crap than Christians' tighty-whities. You need to count the votes if you want to know the score. However, the one and only Sally gets my vote every time. Okay, you might think, don't quit your day job when you see that above, but my day job for the past 25 years has been to document every minute detail of a reality television program, which some might opine is not any more ridiculous a profession than embarking on a career as a reality TV rapper. I'm not saying I'm any Mike Boogie, the patron saint of white reality TV rappers, thanks to his many Chilltown raps on Season 2 of Big Brother. Apparently, I may not even be any Jeff Probst. Forget about fried chicken and waffles. That is so much like Season 48, because Probst is now a full-fledged MC. He delivered his Drop Your Buffs message through the awesome power of song. When Survivor's host master general started dropping bars after literally asking the contestants to give him a beat, many of you may have been utterly perplexed. However, this was actually a development that wasn't all that surprising, because I don't know if you all have been paying attention, but Probst has gotten weird, y'all. Wonderfully, wackily weird. On Survivor 44, he once impersonated a gargoyle at random, or the bizarre fried chicken and waffles chant he got contestants to join in on. Also, starting in the new era, Probst will start speaking with a Shakespearean accent about once a year for no apparent reason, completely out of nowhere. Again, for no reason. However, the host's complete masterstroke of Survivor weirdness occurred in the studio rather than on the island, and it was courtesy of a legit 1880s hair metal anthem Probst recorded for the new season titled Survivor 50, Come and Get It. I could attempt to describe it to you, but it is honestly beyond description. If you have yet to inject this arena rock masterpiece directly into your veins, then I direct you to the video below. You can talk all the Harry Styles, T-Swift, and dude who does flips off a piano all you want, but if Survivor 50, Come and Get It, does not win a Grammy, then the Grammys are a complete farce and need to be done away with immediately. For the past month, I have listened to that song on repeat and will never stop. The point is, Probst has entered his IDGAF era, and I am here for it. I mean, unless I misread the entire In the Hands of the Fans campaign and viewers ordered the host to perform his best Big Daddy Kane impression, I'm pretty sure this was entirely his call. And what I am fascinated more by is not even that he decided to do it, but what made him even think to do it. Like, how in his mind did he even get from I need to tell the tribes it is time to swap to I should come up with a dope-ass rhyme that sounds like a deep-cut Def Jam B-side from 1986? Actually, upon reflection, do not respond to that question. I don't want to know. The enigmatic mystery that lies beneath rap is what gives it its power. However, I adore Probst's practice of letting his freak, and it appears funky, out. Recently, flags fly. And judging by that shot of him in the trailer and what he said on The Tonight Show, he may even get weirder this season and compete alongside players in a challenge. I have no idea how, I don't know why. All I know is, yes. This man could coast, mail it in, or whatever other term you want to use after hosting the same show for 50 seasons. He could just stand there, tell people to come on in, look stoic, snuff a few torches, and call it a day. And what's more, if he did that, it would completely escape notice. Nobody would care, and nobody would have the opportunity to rip it apart on social media. He could so easily just play it safe. But he's not. At the marooning, he is carrying out the exact instructions he gave to the cast. Probst told the players he wanted them to give everything. I was squatting on the sand a few feet away when he did that, and I was honestly a little bit scared at the intensity of Probst's facial reaction when he said it. He wanted full 100% commitment, and if he was going to ask the cast to risk public embarrassment, he was going to have to lead by example and risk it himself. He absolutely had to know the internet was going to have a field day with him rapping, and this mofo went and did it anyway. I love it so much. I mean, of course I do. I am the most ardent advocate and supporter of epic vote deliveries on Earth. I am the individual who conducted an insanely in-depth oral history of a heroes versus villains reality TV rock band, and then turned into an impromptu record label and went and released the Ponderosa EP. See below. The more off the wall, the better in my book. I am inundated with happiness at the fact that I have no idea which musical genre Probst will randomly experiment with next. It is truly providing me with everything. And yes, I tracked down the host to ask specifically and only about the rapping, so make sure you check out his explanation here. Okay, let's get into all else that went down on episode 3 of Survivor 50 in what is shaping up to be an unbelievable season so far. Seriously, how good has this season been? We are 6 hours in, and every single one of them has been glorious. Oh, and a little side programming note before we get into the recap, don't forget to keep voting in our daily Survivor winners bracket. Now, let's look at all the new tribes and what happened on each beach. Emily reveals everything to everyone. The obvious first point to make from the new Vatu is that the David versus Goliath power trio had been reunited under one virtual roof. Angelina, Mike, and Christian were back together, but my interviews before the game indicated that Christian was definitely the third wheel in that scenario. We'll see how that plays out. There were also 3 original Vatu in Q, Stephanie, and Angelina, but the difference was that Q did not have a vote. Also, Angelina was significantly more likely to choose her David versus Team Goliath team. Because of Q's lost vote, even if Emily and Ozzy decided to go with them, they could only hope for a tie. If you were Emily or Ozzy, would you really want to go to Rocks and risk going home for people you had a tribe with a day earlier? And in that circumstance, are you willing to sacrifice your idol? No, you are not. Of course, the cruel irony is that Q lost his vote when he gave it to Ozzy, and Ozzy lost it a day before retribing when he gave it to Siri. When he heard about that, I can only imagine that Q was unimpressed. Also, if I were Q, the first question I would ask Ozzy when we hit the beach together is how to get my vote back, so I assume that conversation took place but did not make the final cut. But enough about all that nonsense, because we need to talk about Emily Flippin, and we need to talk about her immediately. What exactly is she doing? She's telling Q and Ozzy about Aubrey's idol. She's telling Angelina that Q and Stephanie want her out, even though at that point she's not even sure what side of the vote she wants to be on. It's never a good sign when an alliance partner says the following: "I've made a terrible mistake. Additionally, I require your forgiveness because you will hate me." No wonder Christian was busy karate chopping air in his frustration during his confessional interview over Emily spilling the beans. Did fans vote for beans this season? To anyone who might be interested. That has to be so frustrating. Why would she act like this? He didn't ask anyone specific questions. Indeed, why? Ghosts of Survivor Past. Charlie, Dee, Jonathan, and Camila, along with Rick and Siri from Old Sela and Rizzo from Old Vatu, have an immediate majority in New Sela. And sure enough, we already got a scene of Dee and Jonathan talking about the need to get rid of Siri. But the person doing himself no favors was the Rizod god. Not only was his incessant yapping making Siri want to head back to the couch, but Rizzo's efforts to get close to Charlie by telling him about the Billie Eilish boomerang idol backfired when, seemingly a few hours after asking Charlie if he still spoke to the woman who cost him $1 million, Rizzo told the tribe that Sophie Belardi, aka Blue Soph, aka Other Soph, also known as Soph, was his number 49 bestie, but that he actually voted for Savannah to win the game. It was still too soon for Charlie to learn that the person who he said was his closest ally did not vote for him in the tribal council election. "That pissed me off," said Charlie, clearly retreating into an emotional fetal position. "I do not want him within an inch of a jury seat. I believe that he has forfeited that right." Wow, incredible stuff. Of course, if it had been rapped, it would have been even more potent, but we'll still take it. Also, who would have thought that Maria and Sophie would be so important
Chrissy
on
has
Survivor
a
50?
reoccurring sense of déjà vu. Honor and integrity time, people. In my cover story, I said that it was pretty clear that people like Coach, Colby, Jonathan, Joe, and Stephanie were in an honor and integrity alliance before the game, so it came as no surprise that Coach, Colby, and Joe immediately gravitated toward each other, like my right and left hands reaching for the last can of Milwaukee's Best at the same time. But while the big, burly dude alliance might be the strategic headline, the interesting stuff was with the women. First, we had the heartbreaking scene of Chrissy being clued into the fact that she was rubbing people in the game the wrong way. Again. Chrissy told us, "Last time I played Survivor, I was really aware that I was not well liked." And this was a theme we talked about in our pre-game interview, which you should definitely read. I just feel like people just don't like me whenever I come out here. This scene was a perfect reminder as to why returning player seasons can hit much harder than a newbie installment. It's not just that the show has the ability to bring back actors who are good on camera, it's that they all bring some sort of baggage from the game back into the game, meaning it is scene baggage that the viewer already has a pre-existing knowledge of and relationship with. I'm referring to the fact that literally hundreds of new players have come in to talk about how they were bullied in high school, didn't fit in, or weren't liked in their everyday lives. It's universally relatable, of course, but lacks the specifics the viewer can latch onto and have a memory of. However, we keep that in mind whenever you hear Charlie talking about the baggage he still carries from the Maria vote, or Chrissy crying about how different her cast is from everyone else. We know the exact instances to which they are referring. Watching this story unfold is not only their history, but also our history. This indicates that it is an additional investment level. The fact that I watched this play out on season 35, spoke to Chrissy about it back then, spoke about it with her 2 days before the game began, and then watched her watching the whole thing possibly playing out all over again right before her eyes is a remarkable dramatic dividend that has now been paid. It paid off for you as well if you watched her on that season, read the brutal exit interviews from season 35, and read my pre-50 conversation with Chrissy. Such a great scene. The other thing that stood out about the new Callow was not much to do with the show's history at all. Rather, the producers put together a masterful montage of Genevieve battling Aubrey across the entire tribe. We basically saw Genevieve talking to everyone on the tribe in the same language and using the same words, but she cut between her individual conversations. Naturally, one of those people, Tiffany, immediately went and reported it back to Aubrey. Good thing she is suddenly BFFs with Billie Eilish. What a significant disappointment. Naturally, I'm referring to the fact that the blindfold challenge this season did not feature any additional groin shots. Yes, Devins got close to hitting his Uncle Rick. Sure, the hoop landing on Rizzo's head was fun. While it was nice to see Colby take a shot to the head like I did when I ran this course in season 46, I was still hoping for more bodily harm, to be completely honest. So we'll focus on the puzzle instead. I can't really judge how well Camilla did on it since her tribe, Sela, had such a massive lead, so there was no one to compare her to. But it seems like Camilla gave a typically strong effort. However, we can contrast Christian for Vatu and Chrissy for Callow. Christian is excellent at puzzles. This has been evident since his very first marooning puzzle on David vs. Goliath. Therefore, Chrissy absolutely positively dusted him off on this one should speak volumes. Merely an entire obliteration. It was like shitting your pants in a challenge for the loser. Too soon? However, it reaffirmed Chrissy's status as a formidable puzzler, who also holds the record for the most individual immunity victories by a woman in a single season, and I bet her tribe likes her just fine after that performance. Christmas has been uncancelled. There were a lot of shenanigans going on back at New Vatu after the tribe lost the immunity contest. Mike convinced Stephanie and Q that his side was all voting for Stephanie, and for some reason they decided to believe him. In the meantime, Q came up with a plan to get Mike to vote for him. He did this by selling it to Mike that it would avoid a tie. But in what world would Team DVG want to be on the shorter end of an avoided tie? Stephanie is my number one, and if you know something about me, the only person that can turn and vote out my number one is me, was a wonderful line from Q's baffling strategy. Even though these moves didn't make much sense, I thought it was a good enough play for Q to bluff with an extra vote, even though that had the potential to frighten the opposing side into thinking that they might not have the numbers. I'm not sure how plausible it was. Q's fate lay in the hands of Emily and Ozzy, and it's never a good sign when one of those people is telling the camera there's something particularly delicious about voting off Q, because I think he genuinely thinks he's pulling one over on us. What we will never know is how this vote may have been changed had Ozzy not given Siri his extra vote, because Ozzy clearly wanted to keep Q, but with only 3 votes between the 4 of them, the most Stephanie, Q, Ozzy, and Emily could have done is force a tie, which again is not very appealing from the Ozzy and Emily perspective. But if Ozzy had kept that extra vote and they had the clear numbers majority, would he have pushed harder to keep Q and break up the David versus Goliath trio? It's fascinating the way that one decision may have potentially massively altered the game. Also, Q's fate. At the risk of repeating myself, this was a stellar episode in what has been a dynamite run of Survivor so far this season. Even with all the bells and whistles, the focus has been firmly on the cast, and they have delivered in a massive way. They're hiding fake idols at tribal council, they're spilling intel from allies to enemies for no reason, they're digging up old demons. It's all working, and I will keep working right alongside with it. Make sure to check out our recent Survivor 50 mystery box full of exclusive behind-the-scenes goodies, take our Ultimate Survivor quiz, and go vote in our Survivor Winners Bracket game. And because we could not decide who on this cast was the most extra, we asked the cast to tell us. You can also either watch or read my exit interview with Quintivavius and enjoy my conversation with Probst, which is 100% about his rapping and nothing else, because that is just the way I roll. With another scoop of the crispy, see you next week. Want to be kept up with all things Survivor? Dig deep and sign up for Entertainment Weekly's free Survivor Weekly newsletter to have all the latest news, interviews, and commentary sent right to your inbox.